Our first speaker tonight is Elliott Adams. This afternoon, we had the opportunity to see a lot of the work that he's put together, a lot of the history that he has looked at. But the one thing that he reminded me of is that history is wonderful, but the future is bright, and we need to seize it. So let me just tell you a little bit. He is a past national president of Veterans for Peace. He was a paratrooper in the infantry. He served in Vietnam, Japan, and Korea. But he also did some local work, like president of the school board. He was also the mayor and other civic positions in the city that he lived in. Elliott left politics to become an activist. That's unusual. Most politics, once they get in there, they're hard to pry out of their new skin. So participating in untold demonstrations, he has organized United for Peace, War Resisters League, School of the Americas Watch, Peace Has No Borders, and I think I mentioned National President of Veterans for Peace. He moved from being a soldier to being a nonviolent warrior. What a noble cause, what a noble thought. I give you Elliott Adams.
So thank you all for coming. Just coming out like this on an evening like this is an act of activism. Thanks to the local VFP and all the people in Albuquerque who put this together. Thanks to Steadfast Farms, which sponsored me. Thanks especially to Will Covert for the work he did to make this thing possible. So how are all you tonight? Good. Good. Yes. We're lucky. We're about to listen to the most incredible lineup of great minds in American policies that I have seen. You will come away with a deep insight in what needs to be fixed in this country. But there's nothing more frustrating than knowing the need for change but not feeling you know how to make it happen. That frustration led me to move from studying what was wrong in the country to trying to learn how change happened. And one of the things I found is that the second rule of controlling a population is make them feel powerless. Ever have that feeling? So I'm going to talk a little bit about power tonight. So if we think we need change to move to a better world, the question that comes up, do we, the people, have that power? Our history and our heritage tells us resoundingly yes. Remember the struggle to end desegregation, the fight for the 8-hour workday, the 40-hour work week. Remember, all these were serious struggles. People died in them. Yet we benefit from them every day, but we've forgotten about them. We've forgotten about the struggle. The right to unionize, women's suffrage. Now it's hard to even imagine a world where the women don't have the right to vote. Ending the Vietnam War, the first time that people ended a war the government wanted to keep fighting. Women's right, gay lesbian rights. Now none of these were given to us out of the generosity of the power holders. These are things that the people took. And in each case, the power holders gave up power and wealth. They did it because the people demanded it. And I repeat, because the people demanded it. But these nonviolent campaigns happen at every level. International, national, regional, local. Many of you have been involved in many local issues. Environmentalism, land use, recycling, keeping ROTC out of your schools. And you know that these stories of David and Goliath are what have created most of the good things we have. Yet, when the successes happen, we rarely hear about them happening. In fact, come to think of it, usually the politicians are ready to take credit for it, even though they fought against it. So where is the seat of this great power that's motivated by nonviolent activism? Is it the people that have the power? Is it the politicians that have the power? Is it the courts? Is it the rich? The power is held by the people. if only we learn to use it. Think of it this way: the working class, the middle class, and the lower class. We make every product, we generate every dollar of GMP. We enforce the laws, we build the schools, we grow the food, we fight the wars. We do the bookkeeping for the IRS, we do the bill collecting for the IRS, we do the foreclosures for the IRS. Now, some will say it's not the people. For example, it took Congress to pass the 1964 Civil Rights Act. But that happened after the public opinion changed and the public was demanding it. Or the one I like is the laws about the criminalization of homosexuality. In 1986, the Supreme Court ruled anti-homosexual laws are illegal, Brown versus Hardwick. In 2003, the Supreme Court ruled anti-homosexual laws are illegal, Lawrence versus Texas. What happened in those few years? They didn't rewrite the Constitution. Human sexuality didn't change. The Bible didn't even change. What happened was an active nonviolent campaign which changed the way that people saw things. And as the public opinion changed, so too did the way the Supreme Court read the Constitution. So, knowing this, we know that if we're looking for fundamental change, the public is always our target. If you want minor adjustment, if you want to change one law, you target a congressman. But if you want real change, like, for example, ending war, you have to target the real seat of power, the people. You've heard it, I've heard it. People express a concern that things have gone just too far for us to get power back. That, my friends, is an excuse not to get out and do something. Do not be fooled by the illusions. It is the goal of any group in power to make it look pointless to resist. That is why kings claimed their power came from God. That is why the police show up with massive disproportional force. So let's look at times when people faced real oppressive force with nonviolent action. We all remember Pinochet in Chile, a true despot. Yet he was thrown out of power by nonviolent resistance and action. And in fact, in the beginning of that campaign, some of the early steps were to have people slip out of their house at night into the streets and beat pots and pans. And that simple act in that repressive government was grounds to be disappeared. But they did it. We all accept the repressive nature of Hitler. Yet the Rosenstrauss mothers went out in front of the prison that their Jewish husbands and children were in, stood there. The Nazis tried to talk them to going back in. The Nazis tried to force them to go back in. The Nazis shut off the streetcar stations near there so more people couldn't come. The Nazis fired over their heads, yet people still came. By the end of the week, the Nazis released the Jewish fathers and children. We have nowhere near that level of repression here. They and our forefathers stood up against great oppression. If they can do it, we can do it. Reminds me of that wonderful Frederick Douglass quote: "The limits on tyrants is prescribed by the endurance of those they oppress." And to mention other major nonviolent resistance against violent repressive governments: the overthrow of Marcos in the Philippines, Milosevic in Yugoslavia, the Orange Revolution in the Ukraine, Rose Revolution in Georgia, the Shah in Iran, East Germany, Czechoslovakia, Bulgaria, Solidarity that started out in Gdansk in Poland. The list of it is almost endless, both international campaigns and also local campaigns. We, the people, have the power, if only we will use it. This is a good point to mention, that just because we call a movement nonviolent does not mean no one will get hurt or die. In the end, the power holders always use all the power they have, and that almost always includes violence. Look, even what happened in Pittsburgh at G20 or in Minneapolis with the Republican National Convention. St. Paul. I'm sorry, correct. The river's an important thing.